Good morning.
Turn it on.
It's on. It's on. Okay, so I'm sure most of you have heard our trip did not go as planned. We were planning to be in Belize and return Friday. We did not, all of our team did not make it to Belize. Our pastor did, thankfully. Tessa and I did not make it. We'll let Reagan and Kelly tell you about their part of the travel. Tessa and I, when we got to the airport, our first flight had some mechanical difficulties, so they started rerouting all of us, and so we got rerouted to from American Airlines to a Delta and United flight. So luckily Anita got a flight, Reagan and Kelly got a flight, and we were last to get situated on our flight, and that started a long series of waiting in some lines to get our bags checked. We had a couple of bags full of school supplies for the children in Belize, and so we were waiting and waiting to get our bags checked, and finally got some bags checked, which the lady was not very happy about, because by the time we got there, it was a little late to get the bags checked for our flight, and but she checked them anyway, and then we had to very quickly get to our flight that was already loading, and we were trying to get through security, which was some more lines, and by the time we got there, the wheels were already up on the plane. They had already, well, not the wheels up. Maybe wheels were up, and so we did not get on the flight, and so from then on it was 7 hours in the Atlanta airport trying to get to Belize, which did not happen, and then trying to get home, which took a long time just to get home because we could not get a rental car for certain reasons. A lot of doors shut, but then eventually opened again, and that was because of God. So we met some wonderful people along the way, maybe a few unpleasant people along the way, but we won't talk about them. We met a wonderful lady named Vashti. If y'all have heard of that name in the Bible, Queen Vashti, she was named after Queen Vashti, so you might want to look up that story in the Bible. We also met a wonderful lady at the rental car place, second lady at the rental car place, which was an answer to prayers, so that was lovely as well. So I just want to read a little devotional that I thought was very appropriate to our situation. Now, it's not your everyday devotional that's usually, sweet and lovely and beautiful. This is a little different. Israel is swallowed up like something no one wants. Hosea chapter 8, verse 8. So we know the Bible is a sacred book. God inspired the authors to write what they did and their best attempts at communicating it beautifully in the language of their day. Some biblical writers were masters of visual imagery, expressing eloquently the message God had given them. Authors like the psalmist in Psalm 42, verse 1. As the deer pants for streams of water, so my soul pants for you, my God. Or Isaiah in chapter 40, verse 31. But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. Then there are others like Hosea. Hosea's biggest struggle was similes. The Israelites are stubborn like a heifer. I suppose a stubborn heifer gets the job done, but if you have to call something stubborn, like stubborn, you're not exactly metaphoring properly or really similing. He did say later, Ephraim's glory will fly away like a bird, which that one is a little more popular. I think Hosea becomes aware that this is not his forte, so he kind of gets stuck on a simile he's comfortable with. There They are all adulterers, burning like an oven. Hosea 7:4. Their hearts are like an oven. Hosea 7:6. All of them are hot as an oven. Hosea 7:7. Until finally it seems like he just gives up entirely. Israel is swallowed up like something no one wants. Hosea 8:8. Hosea followed after God and wrote what he was inspired to write. I can't help but think how many times I've paralyzed myself with qualification questions. I have an idea of what I want to do, but I hesitate and wonder, am I strong enough? Do I have enough? Am I good enough? The truth is, there's no metric standard whereby we decide who is good enough. Love God, love your neighbor, and pursue what you love. That's all we can do. And if we find ourselves embarking on an adventure we don't feel qualified for, remember, if Hosea can write a book of the Bible and do it maybe not as eloquently as others, then we can do anything God calls us to do. A fear of embarrassment or failure can be another debilitating component of the experience. We can convince ourselves that enough preparation will eliminate the scary outcomes or possibilities. The first time we attempt something will likely not be the best version, but we may be amazed how much we developed through the doing. Hosea's faithfulness to God changed him from a half-baked, similarly struggling writer to a fully cooked, contributing author of the most important book ever written, which is why I always say, God is like an oven.
And then Romans 12:12. Be joyful in hope, patient in affliction, and faithful in prayer.
Treva, your first flight didn't go off because of mechanical error.
Yes.
I thought I understood that your second flight also had mechanical error or not?
Ours personally, we just missed
Missed it, okay.
because of the timing of
Trying to get food.
trying to get bags checked and just the lines, and then we couldn't get another flight to Belize because the next one we could get wasn't until Thursday.
Come back.
Right.
Did the books get there?
Yes, we had two of the bags that we checked. One bag actually made it to Belize, and Anita said they were incredibly thankful for that. And the other one was in Atlanta, and I'm not sure if she was able to pick that one up. I haven't heard about that. But Anita sent some information, and let me read that to you real quick before Kelly comes up. And she said, Kelly, is it okay if I read that text that she sent? That, she said, if you want to think about what the conditions are like there, think about the abandoned homes that we see here, and that's what the families are living in there. One particular mother welcomed her into their home. She's got pictures to share, by the way. She gave away many of the wooden crosses, several Bibles. She's about $700 in groceries and basic items. And the families were incredibly grateful for food and physical and spiritual items that were shared. The supplies that did make it were incredibly appreciated. Not all of the backpacks and supplies made it, so she did purchase additional backpacks, so every child got the backpacks. Not all the crafts made it, but the ones that did, she was able to do crafts with them, and the other ones that'll get there later can be used at a later date.
So y'all really did a great thing by getting a lot of that stuff on board.
It was incredibly appreciated, and they definitely needed it, very much so. Any other questions for Tessa and I? Yes.
Did you talk to your husband about about the situation with the airplane and he said, come home, or did you just decide we're going home?
Well, we had no choice because we couldn't get to Belize until Thursday, and we were supposed to come home Friday. And the lady at the international counter that tried to help us, she couldn't get us on standby because there were so many people on standby flights, and the flights were overbooked. And so she said she couldn't help us get there. So there was nothing to do except come home. And then we started working to try to get home, which that was not an easy task either, because we couldn't rent a car because we were told we had to have a credit card to rent a car. We had cash and we had a debit card, but we didn't have a credit card. And so we were just kind of stuck. And so we were going back and forth through the airport, and we were told, well, get a voucher from the airline. And so we waited in more lines, and they wouldn't give us a voucher because they said, well, you missed your flight, that was your fault. But, we were trying to check the bags, and they said if you had time to check the bag, you had time to get on your flight. So, and that's where Tessa came in, and she was like, because the lovely lady said, I'm not accusing you, but if you had time to check your bag, you probably checked your bag, and you may or may not have gotten something to eat. And Tessa told me later, she's like, Mom, I was starving. I had not had breakfast, and you made me sprint up an escalator. So needless to say, we did not stop and eat. We ran everywhere we went and waited in lines, and so it was a humbling experience, and we met some very wonderful people, but also some less wonderful people. But the second lady at Hertz at the end was truly an answer to God's prayer, where He opened a door and she made a way for us. So it was wonderful.
But you did so good getting those supplies there.
We did. God did that.
Yeah.
Yes. So.
I'm gonna let Reagan start this and let her give y'all a kind of a step by step, and then I will fill in anyways.
I'm gonna move this, I'm not using it, I just move it. Graham was saying something about it not being in the middle. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna give like a detailed kind of summary of what was happening the whole time and what we were going through. So we started off on our way to Atlanta. We're looking for a place to eat. She was there. We were riding with Tessa and then Treva and my mom. And we're trying to find this place to eat, Chick-fil-A. And we get split up from Miss Anita and Mr. John Riley.
That should have been a sign.
They got off in the exit, and we couldn't find the exit. We already passed it. So many things were going on. We ended up eating at Waffle House.
Because
So that's what happened
Tessa
first.
thankfully spotted it. There's a Waffle House.
Yeah, that was good. So we got that over with, and we headed back to our hotel, which was an experience there. That's all I gotta say. Tessa and Treva had to move rooms for a reason. Now we won't name now, but you probably figure it out later.
Well, just an example here. You were bragging about the good deal John got on the hotel, right? And I heard the price and I said, Atlanta. Not sure about that. So you get what you pay for, right?
But it was a memorable experience that we're gonna remember.
I was blessed that we were allowed to move rooms.
It was good. Okay. So we spent the night there. We made it through it. And the next morning we're heading to the airport. And we're all so excited. And we get there and the flight's been delayed. Like we've known before we left the hotel that the flight has been delayed. And we get there and they end up splitting us up. So we're like, oh yeah, we're gonna get on a Delta flight and we're gonna go on this plane and we're gonna make it there and we're gonna get Belize. So we get cut in front of all these lines and everything and get on the Delta plane, and then we get to Miami and we realize we only have like 15 minutes to get to the next flight because our other flight was delayed. So we try to make it, but we don't make it. And oh yes, we talked to the lady, she was really nice, and we actually got a food voucher for like $12. I don't know where that was gonna get us in Miami, but she said you can have food tonight and in the morning for that money, but like each. So, and they gave us a place to stay that night, which was really nice, and it was a really nice hotel. So we ended up going and staying in the hotel and getting set up in there. And we're like, we might as well do something while we're in Miami, which I didn't really like Miami, but we had to make something good out of it. So we looked online, we're like, let's go on a celebrity cruise, like boat thing, and you go down the water and just like explore the city. So we get an Uber to go to the city and explore those things. And we met a lady on the boat from Denmark. Now, I think she thought we were with her group because she kept asking when the bus was gonna leave. And I was like, we don't know that. And then we walked away. But that was a pretty good experience right there. And after we got done with that, we got back on the Uber. And I didn't think we were going to make it out of the Uber because it was, Miami's traffic's different from Dothan. Like, enormously different from Dothan. So we finally get back and ordered Chick-fil-A. You know, it's $40.
40 cents.
It was like almost $50 to get Chick-fil-A for both of us. So we were pretty much done with Miami at that point. So the next day, we had been told the day earlier that we would be put on standby for the first flight in the morning for Belize. So we get there on time, waiting, and we're number 2 and 3. The one standby gets called, and we don't get called. So there was another flight that was coming up right behind it. We were 1 and 2 on the standby list out of like 10. So we're just waiting and everything, and the last group goes, and they're like, 1 more left, and they call a Trawick name, but they can't say Trawick, so it's like Trawick or something like that. And
Was this
I was like,
was this Wednesday morning?
okay, this was
Yes.
yes. So I'm like, Mom, why don't you just go? And she didn't want to go. They had one spot open, so we just needed 1 more, but we were almost there. And then we're like, at this point, we'd only have 1 day in Belize, and then we'd have to turn around and come back right home, even if we, like, even made it on a flight. So we decided we were going to try to get home, and then we figured out that there's all the flights to Atlanta are booked, and now we're just trying to figure out a way around that. So he's telling us, oh, I can get y'all to North Carolina, and then I can get y'all to Atlanta from there. So we're like, oh, okay. So we get our little bagel over there at the bagel place, and I'm eating it so fast because I'm like, we're about to get on this plane in a short amount of time. And then it gets delayed, and we gotta go to all the way on the other side of the airport. So after that happened, we had a seat on that flight. So we got onto the flight from Miami to North Carolina, and we're not sitting by each other on this flight. I'm near first class, and she's in the back by the toilet. So I'm like, I'm sitting, okay, I ended up meeting this guy, and he was really nice. He was from Jamaica, and I was trying to make conversation, I was trying to come out of my shell and have a conversation with this guy. I didn't talk to the other guy though. I think he was sleeping the whole time. But I talked to the Jamaican guy, and I was like, "Where are you from?" He's like, "Jamaica." And then, "Why are you going to North Carolina?" And he's like, "To visit some family." But it was kind of hard listening to him because of his accent and everything. So I ended up thinking in my mind, I should give him one of these crosses. And then I kept going back and forth on that, like if I should or shouldn't, am I too nervous to do this? And then I finally just pull it out and I'm like, we were planning on going to Belize, but I want you to have one of these. He's like, "Thank you." And he just holds it and looks at it. So I think that was a good experience that I wouldn't have had if I had made it to Belize beforehand. I wouldn't have met him on that flight. So I thought that was a good mission experience. So we made it back to North Carolina. And I get off, and I can't, I'm waiting for my mom to get off, and I'm just like texting her and everything, but she's not responding because she's doing stuff, getting off the plane from all the way in the back. And we're trying to make it to our flight that goes to Atlanta. Now this Miami flight, I forgot to tell y'all, it was also delayed. Wait, no, I already said that. It was delayed even further when we got on the flight. Like they rerouted where we were gonna lift off at. So when we got to the North Carolina airport, we had to run to our Atlanta plane, and it ended up closing. We got there when it was supposed to be taken off. So we didn't get on that Atlanta flight. So we had to reschedule that and get on a plane at 9 or 8 o'clock that night back to Atlanta. That was probably the best flight I've had that whole trip. It was beautiful, but I didn't get a cookie. It was 40 minutes long, and apparently you can't get snacks during that time. And I was really disappointed. But we got back and we had a good night's sleep the next night. But I feel like it was all in his plan for each of these things to happen, and I got to spend time with my mom and go to all these different places and laugh with her at those times, because that's all you can do at that point during those times. And I just feel like it was a good experience, even though there were some troubles along the way.
Well, what Reagan said, that was basically the step by step. But I think that just to add to that a little bit and to see, God's hand in what we were doing here, when we woke up that morning in Atlanta, when we get there and we have the mechanical issues, and then and our experience was much different with going to the next flight in Delta, which apparently we find out in Miami is a huge no-no for American Airlines to put anybody on a Delta. So, they were like upset, saying that shouldn't have happened, and I'm like, that's not my problem, that's yours. So we're here now and we need to go somewhere else. But it was, we actually they took us to the front of the line in Delta. They actually walked us to the front of the line, and we had time to get breakfast and get on the plane. It was a nice plane. We were thinking, everything's good. They're going to get on the other Delta flight. John is flying Delta anyway. He's doing a straight thing and doesn't have a problem. And Anita had got onto a flight, so we thought, okay, this is just a bump in the road. But when we get to Miami and realize there's absolutely no way we could have made that flight. When they rebooked us, they should have known that there's no way we could have got from one terminal to next even to get that. But they did give us the voucher to go to the hotel, and the meal vouchers, which was $12. And Reagan's right, literally a bottle of Coke was $5 down there. And the gas is right at $6 a gallon. So, in addition to meeting just where God was along this whole process, we met the lady from Denmark, she met the lady from Jamaica, the guy from Jamaica, yeah. And then when we were the second Uber that we had, Reagan's trying to make conversation with the guy, and she asked where he was from, and when he finally understood what she was saying, his response was French. And she's like, what? And I said, well, I guess he's from France. But then I started thinking, maybe he's from like Haiti, because don't they speak French? Because it kind of looked that way. But it was, I don't know if you've ever been in a cab or anything, like you've gone on a cruise and gone to Bahamas or anything. Oh, we were in prayer to get back to that hotel. He missed an exit. He knew one English word very well and repeated it several times. Yes. And I mean, he was so frustrated. I mean, he was mad at himself for, missing the exit. And, we finally got back there, and then we were just exhausted, and that's why we did the DoorDash. I'm like, you know what, let's just DoorDash, because we can't get out in this. There's nothing in Miami that we need. So we have been trying to get Chick-fil-A since the very first thing on Monday, because John had told us, well, we can just get Chick-fil-A. Well, there's no Chick-fil-A anywhere near that Holiday Inn that he has never stayed at. We thought he had a good deal and all this stuff. I mean, not Holiday Inn, Quality Inn. So we couldn't. We're like, okay, we'll just DoorDash the Chick-fil-A, and Corey said he got the little alert about the charge. So it's almost $50 to get. I mean, we didn't get much. It was just 2 little meals, and but at this point you're just starving and you got to eat something. So we slept good, but even then we thought we were very confident, because the American airline people were very confident. Oh, you're going to be first. You're going to be right at the beginning of the line for standby. It won't be a problem. No, the flight was already overbooked as it was. So we missed the first one. We go down to the second one, and to the ladies' credit, they were offering people. 2 people to voluntarily give up their seat in Belize for us in order for them and they were going to give them hotel vouchers and all this. So it would have, so we're thinking, somebody's going to swap, somebody's going to do this. They can stay in Miami for free. Nope. Well, one person. That didn't really get us anywhere. So, and Reagan really did. She's like, Mama, you just go. I'm like, I'm not leaving you in Miami. You just go. I'm like, if one of us is going, it's going to be you. I'm not leaving you in Miami. But even then, and we still had on our Belize shirt, so we had questions, about that. There was a group that was sitting behind us that was trying to sign their passport because they hadn't signed the passport and was looking for a pen. Reagan offered them a pen. And then that started questions as to what we were doing and all that. So we chit-chatted with them and explained that. Anita, meantime, is in, I guess, Dallas. Yes. So she is in Dallas and has actually met another group going to Belize. So she's going to have pictures of that as well, a mission group. So she's having a grand time getting down there and meeting all these folks and everything and sending us messages, and we're, communicating. And we get on the plane. Of course, like Reagan said, I'm at the very back. I cannot talk to my neighbors because there's a language gap. They're both Hispanic and neither one could speak English, and I can't speak Spanish. So we were trying to communicate a little bit, but that didn't work out. So we get to Charlotte, and we get off the plane, and of course Reagan's ahead of me. We get off, and I can't find her because there is enormous amount of people, and we were at the far end of the airport, and it was just people. I mean, just crazy. I mean, like to the point where we just couldn't help but laugh because we knew. And we'd already been on that flight and stuck on the tarmac because, like she said, they were rerouting, and air traffic control was holding us from taking off. So when they came on the phone, the captain came over and said that there was going to be a further delay. You just start laughing, and like I said during Sunday school, it's not a funny laugh; it's a maniacal laugh. So these people are looking at us, like, what in the world? So I'm like, well, there's no way we're going to meet. There's no way we're going to get to the Atlanta. Although the captain tried, asked everybody to stay seated that didn't have a connecting flight so that we could get off. Being in the very last row of the plane, though, that really doesn't help you much. So we can get off and try to make it, and we get off and we're hurrying. Reagan's constantly behind me, running over my heels with her suitcase. Get beside me. We're going down the moving sidewalks, going as fast as we can, and Ray's like, we're not gonna make it, we're not gonna make it, we're not gonna make it. And I'm like, we're gonna try, because I don't want them to say that we had time. Yeah, so
But you stopped to eat.
yeah, that we stopped to eat. So we're gonna get there. And we may get there late, but we're gonna get there. So we were sprinting and trying to get there, and of course, by the time we got there, like she said, it was time for them to take off, so they'd already closed boarding. So we had to go back to customer service at that point, and get rescheduled. And at this point, we're just saying that we need to go home. While we're in Charlotte, we're looking for somewhere to eat because we really haven't eaten much. A bagel. She had a bagel and a candy bar. Literally, that's what we had. So we end up in this restaurant/bar in Charlotte, and I don't know why, I just find this funny at this point. So we gave a wooden cross to our waitress, and my sister sending me a text that says, where are y'all at now? I said, we're in a bar in Charlotte. And her response was, well, when are you going to be at the bar? No. So, but we ate, and we were able to get down to our gate, which there's no seating. You either sit on the floor or you just don't sit. But Reagan went to the restroom, and I was like, okay, God. We'd already prayed at the restaurant that, He would reveal to us anybody else that we needed to speak to or talk to or whatever. And so I'm praying while she had went to the restroom, and I say to me, I said, just show me whoever at this gate, whoever it is that I'm supposed to be giving across to or whatever, just show me who that is. So I opened up my eyes, and there's a young black girl that has I couldn't read it to begin with. It said, God is shirt. That's the first thing I looked at when I opened my eyes. And Reagan walked up, and I said, what does her shirt say? And we figured it out. It said, God is dope. Dope. Which is a good thing. In that regard, God is dope. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna go give her a cross, because I feel like that's what I'm supposed to be doing. So I went over and I talked to her for a little bit, and I gave her the cross and explained, kind of a Cliff Note version of what we had been through, and that this was, made in the Holy Land. And she was unbelievably grateful. And Reagan, because I walked off, then went into the restroom, and Reagan was saying that she was even smiling after we left. So, even within the process of being constantly redirected and constantly, we came in contact with people that we would not have came in contact with. And, we have to trust that whatever seeds that were planted with that, God's going to bring to fruition.